I'm about to say positive, constructive, helpful things about Wikimedia Enterprise. I'm going to start by saying what it means to me and then share some ideas that I have for how it could be improved. How do you do? My name is Lane Raspberry. I'm Wikimedian in residence at the School of Data Science at the University of Virginia. I edit as Blue Raspberry on Wikipedia. I'm not part of Wikimedia Enterprise, but as I'm in a School of Data Science and as Wikimedia Enterprise concerns the flow of data and ethics around it, sometimes people ask me about this project and I wanted to talk about it to share some of my thoughts. In my own words, what Wikimedia Enterprise is, it's a company. It's definitely a company. It's owned by the Wikimedia Foundation, which is a nonprofit. So it's a nonprofit owning a company. And Wikimedia Enterprise exists for the purpose of commercial sales of public data from Wikipedia and the Wikimedia products to buyers who want them formatted in ways that make it easier for large tech interests to use. So, as an example, one of the clients of Wikimedia Enterprise is Google, that pays a certain amount of money to this company to get access to Wikipedia data. Again, that's already public, that they had anyway, that anyone can have anyway, because it's publicly available to anyone. And this money goes to the corporation, and then it benefits the Wikimedia community nonprofit. So it's a commercial sector with the intent to benefit the community with revenue, which seems very helpful. Other people have said other things about this. You can read what they're saying. I'm going to say, in my own words, some of the concerns that I have about this. I'm still supportive of the Wikimedia Enterprise project, but I think there's plenty of room for conversation. And like all things Wikipedia, it improves continuously over time. First, let me say it again before I say anything else, because I've already described this in an odd way. Why would Google buy something that they already have and that's already free? So Wikipedia, it's got an open license. Anyone can download Wikipedia. It's a free project. Google already has copies of Wikipedia. Many tech companies already have copies of Wikipedia. You can get a copy of Wikipedia and all the data. What is being sold is not anything that was private or that was inaccessible previously. Why companies would pay money for this is that through Wikimedia Enterprise, they can get faster access to it. So let's just say, for example, that if you download a copy of Wikipedia, the newest version that you could get is yesterday's version. Through Wikimedia Enterprise, companies can buy the most up-to-date version, perhaps 1 second old. I don't know what the limit is, but as recent as possible of a copy that they could possibly get. Another thing that Wikimedia Enterprise does, Wikipedia, if converted to a data set, is messy in some ways. And of course, people are going to structure the data, make it cleaner, wrangle it, make it more machine readable in different ways. But Wikimedia Enterprise uses money to invest in the better formatting of the data so that anybody who wanted to use machine tools, artificial intelligence tools, machine learning tools, could better access it and understand it. That kind of need isn't something that typical Wikipedia editors already needed. One wouldn't have this need unless you needed to ingest it all and analyze it all at scale very, very quickly. So thus the need for Wikimedia Enterprise. And again, Wikimedia Enterprise is a company, speaks for itself. I'm not part of it. They have their own ways of describing these kinds of things. So positive, constructive, useful criticisms, no negativity being spread here. One concern that I have, I've heard this from other Wikipedia editors, is criticism of Google. Nothing to do with Wikimedia Enterprise except for the nature of the partnership. There's a Wikipedia article called Criticism of Google. Many kinds of criticisms are listed there. You can check it out for yourself. I'll just pick out of a few of them. Google collaborates with the militaries of different countries. I don't know what that's about. I wonder what that could mean. You could read about it. Google is said to sometimes misrepresent the results that it shows. Sometimes it favors more groups. Sometimes Google favors other groups. Maybe this is inherent in the technology. How do you make everyone happy? Still, it's valid to say these kinds of things. There's nothing wrong with having room for improvement. Google is said to sometimes censor its results. Like, for example, if Google wants to provide products in countries that have legal restrictions on sharing certain kinds of information, it's said that Google will collaborate with those governments to censor. People who don't like censorship may not like that Google's doing these kinds of things. There's other kinds of criticism. What does this have to do with Wikimedia Enterprise? Well, some people might say nothing. What Google does isn't our concern. If they want to buy Wikipedia data, then what does it matter what they do with it? Me personally, I feel like I'm a stakeholder in what Google does with the data that comes from Wikipedia. I care about Wikipedia. I edit Wikipedia. The data in Wikipedia is partially mine, along with several million other people's, but I'm a stakeholder in this. And I want to know that if we're selling data, we've negotiated that it's going to be used appropriately. I do not believe that Wikimedia Enterprise alone has this partnership with Google. I think Wikipedia has a partnership with Google. And since Wikipedia is a community of people who are building an encyclopedia, I feel like every individual who edits Wikipedia has a partnership with Google through these contracts that Wikimedia Enterprise has. And speaking for me, there's some things about Google of which I disapprove, and I don't like myself having a relationship with Google where I didn't get to fully negotiate the ethics and the way that this works. And I don't feel like I've had that opportunity to do that. I haven't been able to do that. Second issue, I would like to see an improved consent process for stakeholders around Wikimedia Enterprise. What I mean by that is that in the Wikipedia community, Wikipedia editors are involved in governance of a great many things, every aspect of Wikipedia. So you may be familiar with Wikipedia, the encyclopedia, but to put this thing together, there has to be Wikimedia community affiliate organizations around the world. You have to run every department of a publishing house to run Wikipedia. It's done with volunteer input. There's some staff here as well. But if you think about everything that it takes to run a publishing house, all those roles exist in Wikipedia as well. And the standard has been Wikipedia community members have always been intimately involved in the governance of everything and taken leadership, strategic, decisive roles in deciding values and ethics in every part of Wikipedia. One of the things that Wikipedia community members expect in governance is explicit and enthusiastic consent for all decisions that are made. And it's typical when there's some kind of controversy or some kind of conflict, people will say, let's just run a poll on it. Let's say, to what extent do people who show up want to say that they approve this thing or disapprove of this thing? It's very common in the Wiki community. This didn't happen for Wikimedia Enterprise. So somehow, and it's not important how, but just this is the state we're in. We normally have explicit consent from community members to do a thing. And for Wikimedia Enterprise, I don't see evidence of this happening. So what would this look like if it happened? There could be things like those community affiliate organizations could have given their institutional signatures to say, we support everything that this project's doing. And that doesn't exist for Wikimedia Enterprise. You could have a list of signatories of individual editors who just sign on, and they could express their support for the way that Wikimedia Enterprise is running. And those kind of signatures of support, they're not there. This is not to say that there's not certain kinds of consent in place with Wikimedia Enterprise. I'm just saying it looks different to me personally. Just a personal opinion, that the consent isn't there. I expect to see there's all definitions of consent online in so many different ways, but the individual editors, I'd like for them to be able to take personal responsibility in giving consent for however this plays out. I want people to be risk aware of what they're consenting to, what could possibly go wrong. Can people list every possible criticism of how things are going and just be aware that these risks exist? And I look to contemporary social movements where even though Wikipedia has an open copyright and anyone can copy any aspect of it, and perhaps people can pay for faster, better, more structured access to that same public information, copyright isn't the only kind of regulation of interest to the Wikipedia community. There's such a thing as ethical licenses, where people say, yes, it's free, but also we would like to know that you're using our content ethically. You can look up ethical licenses. This is a thing. People have all kinds of ideas like, you can use our resource. We made this, but we never approve of it being used for war or military. Or you're allowed to use this data set, this software, this media, these resources that we've created, but our intent behind putting it here was to benefit humanity, and we don't want it used for purposes which are controversial and seem to be hurting some people even if they're helping other people. You can look for indigenous licenses and indigenous rights in media creating movements, user-generated content movements. There's lots of this information out there, but I'm just saying that ethics matter, and the Wikipedia community has not consented and is not sufficiently informed of all the issues that may be arising around Wikimedia Enterprise. Congratulations to Wikimedia Enterprise for getting the level of consent that you have to this point. I appreciate that. You're doing fine with that. Third criticism, constructive, positive, that I want to bring up is that there's the contract that Wikimedia Enterprise had with Google and that it might have with other tech companies, and all the words that are on the pages of these contracts. But also, I, as an individual, have doubts that these contracts are actually the limit of the relationship. I think the contract is to some extent symbolic, and the relationship is more expansive and less negotiated and understood. I'll tell you why I feel that way. First, let me give a couple of examples. There's a famous story about New York City, about Manhattan, that indigenous people a few hundred years ago encountered European colonists. The European colonists negotiated the sale of Manhattan Island from the native people who lived here. And supposedly this was for a few dollars of beads and trinkets, jewelry. As this story is told and retold, one might ask, why did the indigenous people agree to this? And the answer, you can discuss it for yourself, but they didn't know what they were agreeing to. Why would anybody do this if they could understand possibly what was happening? I'll give another example. The British Empire, they set up trading posts around the world. What's wrong with a little trade? What's wrong with free commerce? If the British set up a trading post in your country, then you're able to import goods that you wouldn't be able to have access to otherwise. And you can export your goods, and you get the benefits of globalization and international marketing. The British negotiated trading posts with treaties. They said, we're here to trade. But as time went on, it turned out the British were there for more things. The British set up a lot of colonies in a lot of places. I'm not accusing Google of digital colonization, but it would be foolish of me not to raise the issue, because digital colonization is at our doorstep. It's something that could legitimately happen. And if it ever happened that anything bad came of this relationship, I would be remiss if I hadn't asked questions about it, if I hadn't said what's going on here and do we have sufficient access to information. Since this partnership between Wikimedia Enterprise and Google happened, there's a Wikipedia conference. It's been happening for a long time. It happens every year. There's a lot of these conferences. And I've been going to these conferences every year since 2012. 2023 was the first time I ever saw Google have a presentation at one of our community conferences. Wikipedia used to be a small thing. Wikipedia used to be a peer-to-peer project. It used to be something for individuals and volunteers. Not really professional Wikipedians, not really corporate sponsors that attended these kinds of things. And I'm not saying that Google came to the conference because of Wikimedia Enterprise, but also it's the only tech company that's ever shown up, and it's the only tech company that has a commercial relationship with Wikipedia. It's inappropriate to say that these two are connected, but are they? I'm not sure. And I've seen what's happened to other community projects in the tech world when corporate interests start looking too closely at them and they get corporate collaborations. Corporations ask for things. And whereas at the Wikipedia conference, Wikipedians used to talk to each other, now at this latest conference, some of the Wikipedians talk to a tech company. And does that tech company have interests? Are they asking things? Are they coming back to future conferences? Will other tech companies be coming to Wikipedia conferences? They're quite invited. I'm not saying that they shouldn't come, but I'm just saying what does this mean? There was $1 trillion organization at our conference, and then practically everybody else there is quite poor. Not sure. What else could this mean? In December 2023, the New York Times initiated a lawsuit against another company, OpenAI, and against Microsoft, because OpenAI, it's an artificial intelligence. It's quite popular nowadays. They slurped up the entirety of the New York Times, the text of every article in the New York Times, and then this history of all this New York Times journalism becomes part of the intelligence in the AI. I'm going to put this in my own words. I could be inaccurate about this, but think of the artificial intelligence as a human. And for whatever reason, this human, it read every issue of the New York Times ever published in entirety. And I suppose it also read every book ever published. It doesn't seem so human. There's something inhuman about this. But just like any human can go to the library and read any issue of New York Times that they want, this artificial intelligence did this, and now it's going to give people answers. Now it's going to be a commercial product. Now it's maybe it's beneficial, but it's doing activities, and I don't quite know what. Will it ever be the case that anyone says, well, reading all the text of a platform is fine because, look, Wikipedia sells all the data in their platform, and they don't do it with any ethical restrictions, and they agreed to let this happen, and they didn't want to go through a conventional community consent process to approve all this, and they never said anything about the other activities of the companies that were doing these kind of things. So the state of the situation right now is that no one really ties criticism of Google to Wikimedia Enterprise, the consent process. Consent wasn't given to that, but not strong objections, and I just don't know all the social and ethical issues here in play. So I'm an ignorant person. I don't have any more to say about this, but I'm just making this modest video saying my ideas, as poorly formed as they are, and I encourage anyone else who can be more articulate about this or who has other things to say that would improve Wikimedia Enterprise to speak up, speak your mind, don't be afraid, be positive and constructive. There's no need for any negativity about either Wikimedia Enterprise, and thanks to all the staff and contributors of Wikimedia Enterprise who have made it successful in all the ways that are working in which I really didn't emphasize in this video, but I appreciate very much. Thank you. I am a supporter of the project. Take care. If you have any questions, post them to the wiki, please.